Spawning at the top right, we have our blue Terran player playing for Storm Gaming. Put your hands together for GUMIHO.
And the red Protoss spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of the map, playing for our very own Alpha X. It is Classic.
Alright, and you can see his Classic already has his antennas up as he's immediately scouting around the edges of his bases. This is a huge map, so it's not surprising that you see sometimes players will do a little bit of a proxy cheese, and so Classic just gonna make sure that that is not the case this game, because you know sometimes in the series one player will be kind of think in the mindset of, this is the first game, let's go and start it off with a bang. Let's pull out the cheese from the start to keep my opponent on edge and kind of off guard or unhindered or hindered or unhindered, and just trying to catch him with a quick win. So sometimes you do see, of course, players kind of open up aggressively, but it looks like both of these players have gone standard this time around.
Yep, standard is right. We do see the Stalker opening from Classic, as well as the factory follow-up for GUMIHO. Now, we do see a tech lab on that barracks, so I'm wondering, could that be for a quick cyclone? I'm not sure.
Well, it's definitely possible. I mean, Cyclone is one of those units that are just pretty good all around. It's pretty, I mean, it could pretty much deal with the majority of any early game gateway units, as well as pretty much the majority of any early game air units. So yeah, it looks like GUMIHO will go for Cyclone, and I'm gonna follow up with a second Rex, so a 2 Rex 1 factory opening. Oh, 3 Rex, wow.
Yeah, I like this a lot. It's less viable in other matchups, I would say, but you know, against Protoss, you know, more bio is never really a bad idea, especially in the early game. Now, of course, we do see that first Cyclone actually moving across the map. Is it looking backwards? Is that? Do you see that? It looks like it's facing north. Right? That's not just me, right?
No. Yeah, it looks like it was facing backward.
Yeah, that was so interesting. But yeah, it's gonna, you know, see that, hey, there are 2 adepts, you know, just sort of scouting around with the shades. Second Cyclone is gonna be made, and it looks like this will be a 3-rack stim timing. I do like this move a lot.
Yeah, this is actually gonna be, this is gonna hit decently hard, especially since GUMIHO was able to take down the one of the stalkers. But oh, as I mentioned this, the Phoenixes will lift off these Cyclones, so a little bit of an unfortunate unfortunate scenario for GUMIHO, and Classic will be able to at least slow down this push just a tad bit.
Yeah, more Cyclones are being made as a follow-up, so it looks like this will be, at the very least, a little bit committed. The 3 Phoenixes are going to fly into the main. They will be shoot off by the Cyclone. Like you said, Cyclones are great all around, right? Especially in the early game when there are fewer units. They're just so valuable for holding off whatever the Protoss can throw at them.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think it's going to help him during the main fight, because he did lose those Cyclones earlier on. Like, imagine he could have like target fired the Cyclones on the Phoenixes during the fight, while the Marines lay waste to all the gateway units as well as the Phoenixes. But Classic has scouted this kind of a plan from GUMIHO, so he's immediately researching a charge in preparation for this move out.
Ooh, charge could be super useful. I like that move to get charged. Now, these Phoenixes are going to lift off both of the Cyclones, not quite able to finish killing both of them, but, you know, picking off every single individual Cyclone is pretty good already. Combat Shield is being made, and it looks like this will be a +1 Combat Shield stim timing. I like that pretty... I like that a lot for GUMIHO. But like you said, it's going to be onto Classic to hold off until, at least until charge finishes. We do see some sentries being warped in as well. +1 armor as well. So this is, you know, like, as long as Classic is able to complete everything, you know, get the shield batteries up, get his defenses in place, there should not really be a way for GUMIHO to break this position. But it will be down to both players to micro effectively.
Yeah, what worries me is that the 5 Stalkers that were lost in the early game because Classic was just kind of too eager and at the front there of GUMIHO's natural. So, I mean, imagine if he had, like, maybe 4 of those Stalkers right now during this fight. This would look so much better, but I think with the cannons, the shield batteries, I think, especially with the force fields as well, I think he looks to be pretty safe for the meantime, but you gotta remember he invested a lot of those resources into these cannons and shield batteries when he could have invested into other things like maybe another nexus or additional gateways or maybe more units. So a little bit, I think, a little bit unfortunate for Classic to have to build up all those static defenses. Oh, ow.
Ooh. Oh man, I wasn't. I think one Widowmine shot went off.
Yeah, one Widowmine hit off, and then but Classic was able to split off that Phoenix, and then there was another Widowmine.
Right.
And that.
Oh man.
That hit the majority or a bunch of the Phoenixes. So a lot of these Phoenixes are weakened, as you can see.
Yeah, definitely. Now, they did get in a pretty good amount of damage, of course, 8 SCVs for pretty much free, but this is a huge Terran army. This single Phoenix that just warped in is not going to live to tell the tale. Widowmines are going to fall immediately. A bunch of Zealots are going to charge on through, and I do like that move. Ooh, huge set of force fields requiring the hot pickup in order to keep the remainder of the bio alive, but look at that. Charge lots are so good. I love this for Classic. I mean, he was able to hold it off. Oh, are they gonna... Is the Phoenix... Yeah, so it will take care of the remaining medevac. Only one medevac will survive. And all in all, that was very well handled. I was honestly a little bit worried for Classic, right? Because Classic does not have any splash, but hey, charge lots, especially with armor, they are pretty good. And they will be enough for Classic to not only hold off, but it looks like go on the offensive for now.
Yeah, without any Widowmines during that engagement, those charge lot was able to get on top of all the Marines, especially with the force fields, and what looked like a scary scenario for our Red Protoss. All of a sudden, he's the one that is putting on the pressure on the Terran side of the map. And now, but I think with the reinforcement, it looks like GUMIHO should be able to stabilize here with maybe some extra kiting. All in all, though, it's still gateway units. There are no splash damage to speak of. There's no high Templars with Storm. There's no Colossus. I mean, he is trying to build up Colossus, but it's not going to be in time for this fight. And oh man, this War Prism, I think, is going to be absolutely trapped.
Oh, okay. The Widowmine finally hits it from downtown. Oh man, I just want to say, that whole time, I'm so sorry. I understand. Hey, GUMIHO, like, no disrespect. Classic, no disrespect. I was not watching the majority of that fight. I just had my eyes on the War Prism because there was some excellent micro there up until the end when it finally got trapped from, 360 degrees full surround on the War Prism. But yeah, now the game is changing a little bit, right? We're transitioning out of the charge lot only phase, sentry phase. We're going more into a Stalker Colossus sort of phase. 2 Colossi are being produced at once. The total number is already up to 2, which is, not bad. You could do a little bit better. Some Widowmines are coming in here as well. But a huge drop into the main base, and I don't think Classic is ready for this one.
Well, yeah, he's gonna go ahead and force him to recall here, which I think should be able to save him. I mean, all he did was lose a bunch of gateways and pylons. I think he's okay with that, but he does need to stabilize because GUMIHO looks to be attacking at the 4th and 3rd base as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think that maybe this could be because Classic overextended across the map, right? Losing all of the Zealots, and then of course, if you don't kill the Terran army with whatever you have immediately, they will get kited and they will get cleaned up by the bio as they chase across the map. So that was maybe a little bit of a mistake by Classic. Now, of course, GUMIHO, you know, known for his relentless pushes, will be able to secure himself a 4th base as well. So all of a sudden, all of the momentum that Classic had earlier, none of that remains, and it all swung in favor of GUMIHO within the past minute.
Yeah, that was quite unfortunate. I think if Classic was just not too over eager, maybe he just sat back, waited for the Colossus, I think he would have been in he would be in a much better position. I think his 4th base would be up. But you know what? He's gonna go ahead and try to go for what could be one last push here. Unfortunately, I mean, with 2-2 on GUMIHO and versus like the well, I guess he's gonna have +2 weapons finishing right now. But he's still gonna be behind in the upgrades. Classic, he is gonna have to micro his heart out. Unfortunately, with not a lot of energy on those sentries, he doesn't even have a lot of micro potential.
Yeah, there's very little energy, like you said. There's not enough for, maybe not even enough for Guardian Shield, right? Like, this is just not going too well for Classic. Now, he is trying to see whatever damage he can do for the time being, but because GUMIHO's army is so Marauder heavy, I am not too sure. Now, funnily enough, awkwardly enough, we do see a lot of SCVs being pulled with this army. I think it's a bait. We're about to see GUMIHO come in for the killing blow with the rest of the bio from the left side. 22 SCVs are going down. We do see some force fields as well, but this is a full surround. I think it's a little late, though. Like, maybe GUMIHO is underestimating the sheer number of Colossi that are on the ground. I don't know who's trading favorably. I don't even know, like, what is exactly going on. I just see a bunch of Colossi cleaning up Marauders. Look at that War Prism Micro, just keeping all of these Colossi alive. Oh my gosh, Classic all of a sudden, completely unexpected, able to turn the tables on this Marauder army, taking the bait and saying, hey, I don't care if you have a bunch of SCVs this way, I don't care if you're baiting me, I will kill them, and then I will also clean up your army from the back. And that is exactly what he did.
You know what? I think he pulled the SCVs because he was going to try to go for a surround, but unfortunately, Classic was kind of moving towards the right side, so he had half his army onto the right side, but half his army was lagging behind, and Classic was able to take advantage of that. And this fight, which should have been kind of one-sided, all of a sudden it looks to be much more even. I do favor GUMIHO just a little bit still, but with 5 Colossus still alive and shooting the thermal lances upon these bio units, I mean, I still think maybe there is a chance, but there's still no answer, too much answer for these Vikings. But I don't know, man. I don't know.
This is crazy. I mean, who said 4 Colossi is the optimal number, right? If you see a bunch of Marauders, yeah, just throw in an extra Colossus and you'll be fine. Apparently, Classic just basically muscling through this game, right? Like he sees what his opponent has, and he basically just doesn't care. Now, finally, the first 2 Colossi do fall. Like you said earlier, there really is no answer for these Vikings, which are just going to keep on kiting. Down to 1 Viking, but also down to 1 Colossus as well. But this main drop has been doing a lot of damage. 2 Marauders remain, but they've been cleaning up basically everything in the Protoss main. All that's left is a Disruptor and 3 charge lots on the bottom. But yeah, I'd say Classic, he had an advantage with the charge lots. He kind of lost the advantage when he pushed across the map. And now I mean, this game is just a little bit too even to tell who's ahead.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's like, I still think, yeah, like, I agree with you. It's like anyone's game still. The Colossus count has been reset. However, the majority of the bio forces has been reset as well, and a lot of these production building has lost their add-ons, so it's going to take some time for GUMIHO to rebuild them and then remake those army as well. However, you know, GUMIHO does have more bases, but Classic does have more probes. So yeah, I don't know, man. It's like I still think it's going to come down to the micro to decide who will come out on top and take first blood on this best of 5 series. Remember, this is only game number 1.
That's right. We have a potential of 4 more games after this, and of course, I mean, if I play one macro game this long with this much micro, I get so tired for the rest of the day. I don't know how these players are doing it, of course, you know, but here we go. Looks like the bio is going to walk straight up to the natural, see whatever damage it can do yet again. And it is yet another bait. GUMIHO has again been relentless with the drops. Looks like he's kind of indecisive, decides not to go for the drop in the end. But we do see some Archons coming up as well. And, you know, of course, the higher tech the Protoss army, the better. It's just going to become more and more difficult for GUMIHO to really try to punch through it. The staying power is just greater and greater. But again, like, the supplies are pretty even. We see a Ghost Academy coming up. We see High Templar being warped in. I really honestly don't know who is ahead.
Yeah, even though you look at the upgrades, it's like 3-3 versus 2-1, but and you would think, okay, yeah, GUMIHO is way ahead in terms of the upgrades. His army will be beefier, but I mean, Classic's army, he is pretty splash heavy with the Archons and the Colossus, so that might even out, especially with the disruptor hits if they hit a juicy clump. So yeah, I don't know, man. It's like let's see how this goes. So far, it looks like another base trade underway here once again.
I like that very cute disruptor micro, making sure that he takes out the Widowmine without damaging any of his own units. More probes, more SCVs are going down, buildings are being lifted, bio is coming in from all directions, basically. 2 High Templar, 1 Archon is not going to be enough to save the 3rd base for Classic. But, oh man, yeah, recall is forced. This game is crazy.
Yeah, I mean, right now, Classic is forced to recall because this is his remaining base. He doesn't even have a probe out in the map to make anything else. And SCV is getting absolutely annihilated to these Archons. Nice fortunes, though. Actually, really kind of segmenting some of these bio units. But is it enough? Maybe with some Archon War Prism micro. But I think the DPS is just too strong here for GUMIHO. And it looks like Classic is forced to turn back with the majority of his army. Actually, no, never mind. He is going to go across the map and just go for the base trade all and out. But I don't think there is any probes left, is there? There is no probes left. There's no nexus to even make a probe. And, oh boy.
I think this is it. I think GUMIHO might just have done it. Like, you know, he took the advantage a few times, not just once on this map, but, you know, several times. Oh, look at that very cute disruptor split as well on the SCVs. Vikings are out. War Prism is going to get gunned down. I think this is the beginning of the end, right? Because we have SCVs left. War Prism does go down. Bio is coming back here, dropping on top, and GUMIHO takes game number 1.
Oh. Looks like Classic is coming to this game thinking, you know what? You might have won me last game with the base trades, but I'm going to win this game with some cheesy play.
Ooh, I like it a lot. Okay, so this is going to be pretty aggressive. We see the proxy gateway going down, meaning that Classic is probably going to go for some early stalkers, that kind of pressure, I would say.
Yeah, ideally it would be stalkers, but I have seen some variations with maybe some all-out adepts. But I think the usual openings would be, of course, with all-out stalkers. So looks like GUMIHO unfortunately does not scout around as well as across the map. So he is going to be in the dark for quite some time. And please, Classic, do not lead him to that gateway. Please.
Oh man, yeah, if that was scouted, that would have been a whole world of trouble for our Protoss. But yeah, it looks like the Stalker production is going to start. Is Warpgate going to start as well? Yep, there we go. We see Warpgate started. on the cybernetics core as well as the probe routing back to the proxy. So this could be pretty committed, right? We do see a zealot as well. What I mean by committed is that, you know, more stalkers are coming out, and I don't know, who knows, maybe the probe puts down another proxy pylon as well as some shield batteries as well. But is this going to be a build order loss? I feel like GUMIHO's concussive shells could be a huge deal here.
It's going to come down to the micro, because right now, every unit matters, and you cannot lose any of your units. So if Classic can micro well, he's going to go ahead and come out on top. But if GUMIHO micros well, he's going to pull ahead with his 2 base economy.
Oh man, I love it. Another proxy gateway and a robo. You know, this is a full commitment. I love this. Classic is looking to end the game right here, right now, one way or another. We do see Concussive Shell has finished. Stim is going to be the follow-up, and oh man, Stim Marauders with Concussive Shell. That is pretty scary, I do have to say.
Yeah, I think GUMIHO actually lucked out a little bit, because he went for Marauders like from the start. Imagine if he was going for Marines or some Widow Mines instead. But I think because he actually went for Marauders, he was planning to go for like maybe a 3-rack attack from the start. I think that's actually going to help him in the end. And but he's still not out of the water. He's still not in the clear, because Classic, he is not letting up. He is not transitioning into like a second base. He is going all out with this proxy robo, and he actually catches some of these units, which is absolutely huge. Oh no!
Yeah, these units were moving out and trying to see if they could clean up the proxy, but little did they know that Classic was actually full-on committing to this proxy. Immortal is out, a bunch of SCVs have already gone down. This is looking pretty bad for our Blue Terran player. Unfortunate, because he just simply was not expecting Classic to continue escalating the fight, you know, and it looks like he will hold at the top of the ramp for now. Immortal is doing its best to try to shell away at whatever it can. Ooh, a very nice force field as well, and GG is called. Classic is going to take game number 2.
Alrighty, spawning at the top right. He's our blue Protoss from Alpha X, with a nice little cheese here in the last game. Will he do another cheese to go and take the series lead? We shall see. He is Classic.
And his opponent misreading that last proxy by just a little bit, costing him quite a few Marauders. And unfortunately, the game, it is Psystorm Gaming's GUMIHO.
So, you know, you've seen like those infomercials, right? They try to sell you a bunch of random things.
Sure.
And they had those like, you know, discount prices.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're fake discount prices, but sometimes they're actual decent discount prices. So I just want you to look at GUMIHO's base, and between that command center and that barracks, there is this cleaning bot. And I want you to imagine that cleaning bot was being advertised in the infomercial. How much money do you think this cleaning bot will sell for?
Oh, well, here's the thing. I would buy one of these StarCraft cleaning bots for, you know, anywhere between $1 and $2,000. Right? They're worth more than my heart.
That's a huge range.
Yeah. Oh man, I don't know. Okay, I'll take a wild guess. The discount price was $50.
$49.99.
Oh, I was off by 1 cent. Damn.
Well, you know what those when they're always doing those commercials, they always have to have that 1 cent discount. They don't say $50; they say $49.99, or if it's like $70, they say $69.99.
Right.
I guess it's like part of marketing.
Yeah. What you're telling me is that because we see 2 cleaning bots in each of the mains, there is a total of $99.98 on the map, on each side, in each main.
Yep. Absolutely.
Oh, but look at this. I think this cheese might be worth more than $100. I mean, it looks like Classic is going to go for 2 bases as well as a proxy robo yet again. Oh, there we go. Another proxy gateway. So it looks like it could be similar to last game, but just a little bit more delayed and with probably harder, heavier hitting units.
Yeah, I think, wait, did he? Yeah, GUMIHO has not sent a scout across the map, and I think Classic has kind of picked up on this, and he's just making him pay by going for these cheeses, these proxy buildings, because he's like, you know what? If you're not gonna scout around, if you're not gonna go ahead and see that there's not a lot in my base, then you know what? I'm just gonna punish you for it. And I think he might actually pull it off. This Hellion will finally get some scouting information, but I think it's gonna be a bit too late for then, as the Immortal is about to pop out.
Yeah, that bunker on the low ground does have 4 Marines in it, but of course Immortals were basically made to break bunkers. We also see an Immortal, a second Immortal being warped in at the proxy. But yeah, I mean, I actually am not a huge fan of proxy robo against Terran. Maybe that's just because I'm too afraid of tanks, that kind of thing. Oh, speaking of which, a tank did just start on the factory. Yeah, so this, as soon as that tank is out, this push by Classic might be a little bit too difficult to manage. That Hellion, let's see what exactly did GUMIHO scout. GUMIHO has not actually scouted anything. He doesn't even know that there are 2 Nexuses on the map. That's how little his vision of the other side of the map is. Now, we do see more sentries being warped in. We already have 2 Immortals, and it looks like the 3rd unit to come out of the proxy will be a War Prism, and that War Prism will be key to taking control of the high ground.
Oh no, this tank is absolutely exposed, so these Immortals is gonna just focus fire on them, as well as the bunker, and this is gonna force all the SCVs to be pooled, but the War Prism is gonna add some nice micro potential here to save some of these important high value units, and those Immortals gonna stay alive. And now Classic can just pretty much kite, because Stalkers does have more range compared to the Marines, and he can also load up these Immortals in the War Prism to snipe off the tank. And it looks like GUMIHO is just too scared to siege them up. He's gonna go ahead and just fight them in normal mode. But of course, they don't do splash damage in normal mode. He's gonna finally siege it up, but it's still pretty scary for GUMIHO.
Yeah, and I like this follow-up by Classic a lot. He's just gonna relax. He's gonna take the 3rd Nexus, which is already halfway done. I like that move a lot, right? When you know you have the upper hand, you don't necessarily have to risk everything by throwing it away and trying to win immediately. You could just sit back and macro up and continue holding your lead in the game. Now it looks like these 2 Immortals, oh, this is pretty risky. We see a warp in at in the main base. Of course, only a couple of Zealots are going to be able to warp in. A bunch of SCVs are going to go down as well, but at the cost of the War Prism, 2 Zealots, as well as both Immortals. So all of a sudden, the power of Classic's standing army has been drastically reduced.
Yeah, that was a huge mistake. At that point, I would say that Classic was pretty much was in the, I think, ahead. But with that loss, I think now GUMIHO is looking to be in the driver's seat. However, Classic, he does have a couple of his units here actually, so he's going to go ahead and get a head start on this base trade. Man, this has been a series with a lot of base trades, hasn't it?
I guess so. These SCVs are going to be pooled, so a bunch of them are going to fall. These Protoss units are going to clump up into the corners, trying to see whatever damage they can do. At the same time, the natural of Classic is under fire. It looks like the Nexus is just going to get gunned down immediately. This is exactly like before. This is yet another base trade. And again, I don't think Classic has the upper hand here. I think he's just going to have to GG eventually.
Yeah, the DPS of these Marines is just absolutely just absolutely devastating for Classic, because he can't really kill the buildings fast enough compared to GUMIHO. And also, GUMIHO's building can lift, so it's like this Colossus and these Zealots can't really swipe at them. Meanwhile, Classic, his economy is pretty much shredded. I'm not sure if he had... Okay, he has one more probe left. Let's see where this probe is at. Okay, it's across the map with his army. Okay, so he can maybe plot down a pylon or maybe an assimilator. But he doesn't really have a lot of minerals to build a lot of buildings.
I do have to admit, I was a little bit surprised to see that Classic has not only 2 Colossi, but also a Disruptor out. So, you know, if push comes to shove, maybe he can take a good engagement against GUMIHO's Bio army, but I highly doubt it. I mean, again, Classic is just down on buildings, and, you know, GUMIHO is able to float all of his buildings across. Now, that orbital command is just about to burn down. Yep, Stalkers will indeed finish it off, but another command center is available, floating across to the other side of the map as we speak. But yeah, I mean, neither player is producing anything. Both players are just scrambling, trying to see whatever damage they can do. GUMIHO, of course, did finish cleaning up his side of the map.
Oh no!
This is not it. I mean, the first Colossus went down, second Colossus is going to get focused down. The Raven actually canceled the Disruptor as well, and GG is called.
Alright, so in the last game, I would say I liked the attempt by Classic to go for that cheese. And it actually was pretty nicely set up. I mean, because GUMIHO had no idea that was coming. Not scout at all. I mean, the very little scouting attempt that he did with the Hellions, with the one Hellion, didn't really get him a lot of vision. Didn't give him a lot of answers as to what Classic was going for. And to see that pretty much set up in the silver platter for Classic to take the game, and still GUMIHO was able to defend against that and eventually win the game, I think that's a bad sign for Classic here. But I do like the attempt. I do like the idea behind it. Because if he didn't lose the War Prison with the 2 Immortals, I think Classic would have had a nice, decent chance. But instead, you know, he took the risk. A bit of a questionable decision to not only drop them into the main, that deep into the main base, but also warp in some additional Zealot. I think that pretty much cost him the game, I feel like.
Yeah, I agree. The decision to warp in was just so risky, right? I mean, you see the Bio coming in, you see the SCVs getting this around, and of course, Immortals are not like Zealots. They do not really enjoy being surrounded by swarms of units. So, you know, kind of unfortunate decision made by Classic, and of course it did cost him not only the Warp-ins, but also the Warp Prism, as well as the Immortals, and like I said earlier, it just, you know, it gave his opponent just so much more room to play around with the army.
Alright, a bit of a harassment there by both players. Doesn't look like they get too much done across the map. Yeah, let's see. We do see a Stargate opening for Classic. Well, for the Oracle start. Did GUMIHO see this? Actually, let me go ahead and check his vision. Oh no, he barely did not see it. So.
Man, look how safe GUMIHO is playing, right? The command center on the high ground, the constant Widowmine and Marine production. Well, to be fair, the Widowmines are in preparation for a drop, I believe. Yep, there we go. So we see the first 2 Widowmines are going to be lifted off into the medevac immediately. We also see an armory follow-up, or not follow-up, but an armory, as in the Widowmines are going to actually be invisible until Classic is able to get some sort of detection. So that is pretty strong, in my opinion, this early into the game. Robo just starting, Oracle across the map. Yeah, this is going to be pretty strong. Here we go. The 2 Widowmines are going to come into the natural base, see what they can pick off. One Widow Mine, one probe will be sacrificed. A Phoenix is out. I like this follow-up for Classic. It will make sure that, you know, he cleans up whatever is left. But yeah, all in all, I expected this to take a lot more damage. Or I expected Classic to take a lot more damage.
Yeah, all in all, not a bad hold here. Gonna lose maybe 2 to 3 probes, but considering, you know, there was an investment in the armory, I think Classic will take it.
Now we do see a group of about 8 to 9. I think that's 9 Marines coming up, and if there's one thing that Phoenixes are not good at, they're not good at handling Marines. So this will be a little bit scary, I'd say. Now the Widow Mines in the main base are actually going to fire and killing 8 probes. That was a huge pickoff. That is exactly what GUMIHO was looking for. The Widow Mines do get cleaned up, but at the same time, there's yet another Widow Mine in the natural base. We also see these Marines coming in here, killing off the Adepts that are warping in. So yeah, I'd say the early game definitely goes in favor of our Terran player.
Yeah, I mean, you can kind of prepare for the Widow Mines, but just one second where you're just not looking, and if those Widow Mine hits, it's like it's like just absolutely devastating, especially if they can kind of catch a clumped up group of probes. So yeah, that was quite difficult for a Classic to handle, but well executed by GUMIHO.
Yeah, definitely. It looks like these Widow Mines and Adepts are going to try and get up in the face of GUMIHO. They are actually going to focus down the bunker, which is possibly going to go down. Yeah, I think it is. I mean, there's just not enough surface area with the SCVs, so the SCVs are going to be pulled off the line. But the Adepts are going to shade away for the time being. There is a count of Marines and Widow Mines, so they will be able to clean up the rest of this eventually. Phoenixes are still here, trying to deal whatever damage they can do. So far, I mean, this is just Classic playing for scraps, right? Like 11 more probes have gone down into his main. He's just now recalling because he's realized, hey, there are more Widow Mines here. I mean, props to GUMIHO. He is making the most of his armory, right? Like, that is just very, very well played by him.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, they should just not call them Widow Mines. You just call them winning mines. He's just winning him the game right now. I mean, more probes dropping left and right. There is a Dirt Nexus on the way here for Classic, but he has 36 probes. He doesn't even have enough probes to saturate his 2 bases. So that Dirt base is going to be, you know, kind of useless for the time being until he can kind of saturate his 2 bases. And in the meantime, GUMIHO is still building up more and more Marines and Marauders. Notice that he did not go for a Dirt CC. He went for 5 racks. So it's not like he is looking to transition into an economy game. He is gonna go for what could potentially be the killing and final blow to clinch him the championship of this Alpha X Series Special 21st edition.
Yeah, he looks like he's gonna have a very strong 2-1 combat shield timing. On the other hand, his opponent Classic is going to try to keep committing to these Phoenixes. I like that move in theory, right? But against such a large Bioforce, it's just not practical anymore. So he is actually also going to get charged, +1, that kind of thing. The High Templar Archives just finished as well. But look, this push is already coming across the map. I am not too certain that GUMIHO can be stopped, right? I mean, he doesn't even need the +2, +1. Timing. He can just go straight for it. He's got stim and he's ready to make something happen. Now these medevacs are going to take a little bit of damage. Looks like GUMIHO is a little bit indecisive. He moves out. He sees the number of stalkers. He's going to try to rotate around, catch them off guard. Phoenixes, on the other hand, they are sharking around. They're patrolling the map, trying to see whatever damage they can pick up, which is, of course, how Phoenixes ideally are used. But yeah, they're going to pick up a Marauder. They're not going to get much done here. Storm is about halfway finished, and if Storm can finish and if the High Templar can bank enough energy, there is a chance that Classic can extend this game for just a little bit longer. But Yeah, I don't know. It's a very tough call.
Well, at the very least, he is biding himself some time with the Phoenix harass, kind of pulling GUMIHO's back a little bit, delaying the attack, and pulling his reinforcements back at home instead. So yeah, I think he actually has a okayish chance, I would say, to hold this push. But yeah, I think with the storm research, I think that should make it much easier to defend. He really needs some sort of splash damage in this army and in this engagement here.
Ooh, here we go. The High Templar first storm is going down at the cost of 2 of those High Templar. Not a good trade. These bio units are going to sort of dance up and down the ramp, trying to see whatever damage they can force onto Classic. But of course, we do see yet another double drop routing to the south side. Phoenixes are in position, kind of in position, to make sure that any sort of drop is prevented. So, yeah, you were right. Classic was able to hold out for just long enough in order to get Storm. His opponent, of course, is going to keep his lead. GUMIHO keeping the upgrade lead, working on 3 ghosts at once. I love that. But yeah, I am not too certain. You know, GUMIHO, once he grabs hold of the lead in a game like this, it's very rare that he lets it slip.
Well, considering what of a terrible start for Classic, gotta commend him for at least pulling himself back into this game. The plot is relatively even considering how far behind Classic was, but sooner or later the upgrades are gonna just pull so far ahead for GUMIHO that I feel like it might not just be enough for Classic. But you know what? We shall see.
Ooh, a couple of Widowmine hits are pretty decent. They clean up some of the Zealots, but yeah, that will force back the southern army for the time being. The northern army is still trying to deal. Oh, these High Templar, that's a huge catch. A bunch of storms were popped, you know, what else can you do in that moment? And those 2 remaining High Templar were morphed into an Archon, so at the very least, Classic was able to save them, make the best of a bad situation. Ooh, I don't know about this. We do see, you know, +2 armor coming up, or just finishing for the Terran army. I do like this move by Classic, though. He is prepping to get a 4th base at the same time as his opponent, which, you know, ideally he'd already have it up by this point, but obviously the game did not go his way for a long time. Ooh, but I think the Southern army is going to take care of it, actually, because at the same time, GUMIHO is distracting his opponent over at the 3rd base location. Yeah, this is, I mean, like you said, you know, Classic definitely still has a shot, but it's gonna be pretty tough, and it's gonna rely heavily on his ability to stay alive in these big fights. Now, a good Zealot run by is gonna take care of 10 SCVs, and is actually gonna start working on the planetary as well. Reinforcements are gonna force back the Zealots, however, but you know, honestly, Snoopy, I feel like the longer the game goes on, the less and less useful the Phoenixes are, right? Like, they're just not really good at this stage in the game anymore.
Yeah, I mean, they're not heavy hitters. They don't deal out a lot of damage. They could chase some of these medevacs, though. I think that's a good thing. However, it doesn't even really matter because look at that army here at the right side. The 3 o'clock base there will get absolutely decimated, and Classic is just gonna be reeling from behind. He's gonna either have to go for one last big push, or he's just gonna have to count his lucky stars by going for a macro game. But I don't think that's gonna be the answer. I mean, I think his best chance is just go for one last push. There's just no way he can kind of win in the long game. And there we have it. GG, GUMIHO. We're not going to have a game number 5 this time around. GUMIHO will close it out and win the finals 3-1.
Wow.